All right, back to hit the little button up here. And then let's go to the next one, which is thinking ahead. Okay, so what this is just to get your mind around, okay, we were talking about strategies from a conceptual level. I'm just going to give you some example strategies. And one thing about this course is it doesn't tell you the strategies to take. This is going to be very up to you what you want to do. And on the next exercise, when we get into the main engine piece of tonight, you're going to come up with what you want. So this isn't where I'm saying, hey, you need to get out of debt, you need to do this, you need to do that. I do not propose that kind of stuff. And so what do you want to do? And then let me help you show you how to get there. That's the way this course works. And so what this is just to give you an idea of what strategies are. Sharon and I, we have 3 sons, and I, for the life of me, couldn't get a college fund started, because it was, there was always something. And so we ended up doing a strategy which is not the preferred strategy, but given I don't have one and I need one, this is like, second, third best kind of thing. And so what it was, it's actually number 3. I'm starting there first. Number 3. It says, explain a sample college and trip fund. There's a guiding principle I have called, from age 15 to 22, you have a lot of time, but you don't have any money. And age 23 to 65, you have a lot of money, but you don't have a lot of time. And so one of the strategies that I'm about to tell you is how to solve that problem with from 15 to 22, tons of time, no money, and 23 to 65. So basically what Sharon and I did is we said, we're going to pay off our house when our oldest son gets to be 16 years old. And so our house is paid for, and we're going to show you how to do that under the loan modeling next week. And so the house got paid for, and so now our kids are in that age of 15 to 23, and our oldest wants to go to Argentina to live for the summer, and the next one wants to get photography equipment and learn how to be a photographer, and then the other one just wants the latest and greatest computer system because he's a computer guy, and all of a sudden I'm just going cha-ching, 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 and it's just like gag. But the strategy was pay off the house and get an equity line of credit, and as they want things, I just charged it to the house. And that equity line of credit, it's like a loan, but it's a tax-deductible loan, so if I'm paying 4% interest, after taxes, it's about 2% interest. And so and again, this is not the best strategy. This was called I screwed up. And as a matter of fact, I haven't talked about why this course exists. This course exists is because I've screwed up multiple times with my money in the past. And each time I screw up, I wrote a spreadsheet to sort of say, now if I would have done this, it wouldn't have happened. And so I've collected these spreadsheets and put them together with a bunch of people's help. And so I've been teaching people this ever since. And so now that the house has this couple $100,000 equity line of credit, so now when my kids want to go to college, it's like that's where the money comes from. I just take it out of the equity line, and it's tax deductible, and it just becomes a bank account for my kids. And then what I told them was, I will give you unlimited money to do whatever you want from age 15 to 22. If you want to buy a camera system, go get a good one. If you want to get a computer, go get a good one. But this is my retirement money, and when you get to be 23, you get to start to pay me back, interest-free. I like to say I was a good dad, but I was charging them a loan though. And so it's one of those things that this is just an example of a strategy. I'm not saying to use this strategy. I'm just showing you what a strategy looks like. And there can be 20, 30 different financial strategies you might be having. And so it's not just like one. You might have one for retirement or 2 or 3 for retirement, one for college, one for how to get a car. So there's a lot of different strategies and guiding principles that you're going to come up with tonight and next Monday. And in really the rest of your life, you'll be doing this kind of thing. So I'm just wanting to show you what they look like. Okay, does that make sense? And so then, consequently, my first son's already paid me back. My second son started, and my third one said, I'm still in school, I'm not paying. And all right, so then another example of a strategy is, and this one's just for fun. Okay, stick in a salary right here that you might think would be your average salary for your life. See that yellow and the yellow one right there. See the yellow? There you go. See where the yellow one is? Just for fun. It doesn't have to be exact because someone might be peeking, okay? But just stick in a sample salary. And then what it does is it says if you could leech off your parents or leech off somebody the rest of your life, that's how much money you'd be making, $26 million. That's if you're making $100,000, $26 million. But the number underneath it, see that number underneath it? Underneath the big number? That is actual cash that if you just took your paycheck and buried it, that's how much money you'd be making in your lifetime. And I'm probably certain everybody in here is at least over $1 million. Okay? I won't ask you if you're under, but I've never met someone yet who's under. So from a standpoint of real money that you're going to be entrusted with, you're going to have over $1 million. And if you're in a degree that's more technical, it could be several $1 million. If you get married to someone who's very technical, it could be many $1 million. So the point is, with what God's put you on a railroad track path of doing, are you planning it? Are you thinking it? In terms of those, remember I said the talents, he gave 1, 1, 3, 1, 5. The 3 and the 5 went right out to work to figure out what to do with it. And the 1 buried it. And so an example of burying it today is just going with the flow. If you just go with the American flow, you will not know where your money went other than rent and some car and then the rest of it's just gone. And so from a standpoint of strategy, the point of tonight is to know where every dollar is going before you ever get the dollar, so that you can decide before someone else tries to get you to put it somewhere else, where does it need to go? So you're directing where the money goes, not other people directing where your money goes. And that's part of the strategy. But so this is an example here. Okay, number 2. And this is a sample retirement strategy. And again, I told you there's 100 strategies. There's 100 retirement strategies, And so here's an easy one. In the last week, how many people have spent $5 either on coffee, Coke, or some beverage? Okay, about half, a little bit more than half. Okay, and so if you just stick in a course of a week, stick a number in there, whatever number on your laptop, about how much you think you might spend in the week, of which really is like, I hate to break it to you, totally discretionary. Okay, or totally luxury. It could be ice cream. It could be, it could be something. Okay, so put a number in there for however much that is for you guys. Okay, and again, this is where each person's different. All right, and so it just $5. You put 10. Okay, $10 there a week. Invested if you're 20. And put in your age up here. I'm sorry. See this yellow up here? Put in your age. Okay. So stick in your age there. Okay, and then what it shows you out here is just a crazy number. See that? See what that is? That's a crazy number. It's saying if I just carve out my Starbucks coffee twice a week, or my something or other, whatever it was that was $5 or $4 or $3 or $10 or $15 a week, that's how much money it would be if you just put it in an investment account instead. And that's not funny money. That's like real money, okay? And so that's like a crazy number, $139,000, so $10. Okay, so then for the people that work, how many people get paid every 2 weeks? Yeah, most people get paid every 2 weeks, which means, someone was new teaching, I forgot who it was, but okay, have you got your, there's 2 months of the year where all of a sudden you get 3 checks instead of 2 checks. And so if you had the strategy to say, I'm going to learn to live on 2 checks a month, so I really don't need my 3rd paycheck in those 2 months, and you put them in an investment account, it would be worth $360,000 if you made that salary. All right? Does that make sense? And then how many people have gone and filled out, when you start work, they give you all these paperworks to fill out. One's called a W-4 form, and it's how many exemptions that you claim. And most of the HR staff will say, oh, you just put yourself down. If you're married, you put down 2. Well, that's a very important decision. And so when anyone asks you to do something related to your financial things, you should really say, do you have a financial plan? And they're going to say no, because most people don't have a financial plan. And just say, well, my financial plan says I need to put a 0 there. If you put a 0 on the W-4, that's not against the law. You can put any number in there. You can put 17 in there, okay? So you can have any sorts of numbers in there. But if you put a 0 in there, what it does is it takes a little bit more out of your paycheck, but gives you a little bit more at income tax time. And there's some theories that say, oh, no, you should take that money and invest it. But most people don't. Most people will just spend it. And I had an argument with my dad. I was a finance major at Virginia Tech, and I argued my dad on the same case. And I was arguing how you should never do that and give the government your money. But then I have yet switched, because he challenged me to say, okay, you save and I'll save, and at the end of come March, when the income tax return comes, we'll see who has more money. And I didn't have my money because I'd spent it, and he had this big return. And then it's like, okay, sold. And like I told you, all this was done off failures. That's how this came about, okay? So basically, if you did that and you put 0 exemptions, and if you've already put 1 or 2, you can just go back to the HR and just fill out another W-4 and change it back to a 0. And what that will do is basically it takes your income tax return and invests it, and now you got that much money. And when you add all 3, it makes $1.1 million. That assumes you never get promoted, you never get any additional money, any additional promotional raise, you just blow it on whatever you want, and then you got $1.1 million. And something you'll learn later, you only need $1.4 million to retire at age 22. I don't know what age you put in there, but at age 22, you only need $1.4 million to retire on $100,000 a year the rest of your life. It's like crazy numbers. But it's one of those things, it's a strategy starting in San Francisco, and it takes a long time to get to New York. But if you set that course at 22 or 25 or 30 or 35, whenever you start setting that course, it starts putting you on that track. Does that make sense? And so those are just examples of financial strategies. There's hundreds of financial strategies. But I just wanted you to understand examples of them so that you can, yeah. Is there a question? Yeah.
I'm sure it changed as awful on how much that you are being paid. If you switch from a 0, or if you switch from a 1 to a 0, do you know the impact it has on each paycheck?
It depends. The quick answer is no, sure. But it's going to be less.
Are we talking like 10%?
Well, I'll tell you in a different way.
Sure.
If you would have put 0 to begin with, you would have never known. Okay? So it's one of those things that if you start with the 0, you never learn to live with the 1 or the 2 or the 3 or the 4. Does that make sense? And
State of North Carolina, where I was working, I claimed 0 because my parents were still claiming me, and the amount of money out of my weekly paycheck was only about a couple dollars more than my hourly rate. Okay. So it's very minimal. Cool.
yeah. And so it's just that's a great question. And so from a standpoint of just understanding, the whole concept I'm going to be talking about is learn to live on, I'm going to say 70% of your income. This is just a ballpark. And learn to live there, and then you get to be generous, and then you don't have to loathe taxes, and then you're still going to save, and it's like, then what's the problem? Does that make sense? But when you learn to live on 100% of your income, and crap happens, you're immediately in the hole. And then you're always fighting and tension and stress with money. And so it's one of those things that setting your standard of living is instrumental, where you need to set that, not let the American culture set that for you. Because the American culture will lead you right down a path you really don't want to be on. And so from a standpoint of just just understanding strategies. Here's 3 quick ones, and then you can read the guiding principles to understand just what gleans out of that. But let's go to the next slide. Yep, you hit that little thing, there you go. And yeah, so here's the engine room. Okay, so, and this one's, how many people really don't like spreadsheets? It's okay, I won't be mad, okay? No, there's got to be more than one. Okay, it's got to be more than 2, okay? So here's the reality behind this spreadsheet. It's really about 5 spreadsheets put into one. So this is a big one, and it takes time to understand. And if you don't get it all tonight, that would be normal, okay? And that's why we also have Thursday night, so you can come out Thursday night and we get some one-on-one instruction going, because this is a very loaded screen, and so there's going to be a lot to it. And so from a standpoint, if you have questions, just raise your hand. We have some people that will go around and help us when we get to the exercise here. But basically, here's the concept. If you plan out the next 100 years by year of what you want to do I want to get married? Do I want to have a car? Do I want to have a house? Do I want to have kids? Do I want to have, I want to pay for kids' college? Do I want to retire? You just start to plan out by year, going down, and then the spreadsheet figures out in the end how much you need to be saving for retirement, how much you need to be saving for college funds, how much you need to be saving for car funds, how much you need to be saving for down payments to houses. It figures all that out and comes up with a number that then will go to the next spreadsheet, this is like the dynamic duo, this is the big one, and it feeds the other one. And these two, you go back and forth. The other one says, this is how much money I make, and this is how much I spend, how much do I have left over? And so as you're dreaming in the strategy, as you make changes, it's updating over here into the how much do I make. And the next exercise after this one is to get them to balance so that your dreams and your reality of paycheck equal. But once you come to that, where this is what I desire in the future, Lord willing, and this is how much God's given me in terms of wealth, and you get those to balance, you have a spectacular personal financial strategy. You can then take that to an investment advisor, and they will know exactly what to do. Whereas if you don't know where you're going, they don't exactly know where you're going. That's your job, okay? However, once you have that, it gets it down to very specific, what do I need to do? And then that's next week. Once you have that specific, it's easy to navigate you once you have that part. But until you dream and pray and say, God, you gave me this job, you put me in Columbia here, where are you taking me? What do you want me to be doing? And you start putting those things down into dreams. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. You can say, well, I don't know when I'm going to have kids. I'm not even married. Or I'm married and I got kids, but I don't know what I'm going to do with college. It's okay. All you have to do is guess. It is better to get. Okay, for those that aren't married, how many people think they might get married? Okay, if you're a guy, that usually means that you're going to buy something called a ring. Okay, so you can either wait till you find a girl that would say yes, and then she says yes, and then figure out where you're going to get the money, or you could say, I'm going to get married one day, I'm going to start saving it. And the guiding principle that you're going to find out is the further you can plan in the future, the cheaper it is each month to get there. So an example that I usually talk about, but I took it out of this one now, but was to plan my children's wedding when I'm 22 and I'm not even married, which is like crazy, okay? Because I'm not even married, but I'm going to plan my daughter's wedding. My daughter's wedding, let's say, is $40,000. It's like a crazy wedding, okay? It's like $15 a month, or it's like a crazy amount. It's not much. It's almost like 3 Starbucks coffees. 3 Starbucks coffees, and I paid for my daughter's wedding. However, if I wait till I'm married and have kids, and now she's 18 or 22 or 25 and wants to get married, how much a month do you think it's going to be then? It's probably going to be $2,000 a month, and I can't afford it. I'm going to have to go into debt. Or just tell her no, and so. So it's one of those things, the further you can dream and think ahead with God, don't do it by yourself, okay? God knows the future. Talk to him about it. The further you can dream ahead and put that down, the less you will pay for whatever you dream. But if you do not plan it, it will not be easy. It will be, if you wait till it happens, it's usually going to be debt to afford it, or you're going to have to say no. Does that make sense? All right, so let me show you how this works, and feel free to type over it and change the numbers. You need to make this page your page, okay? So you might want to just go, file, save, and come up with your own name on it so it's no longer the standard name convention. So if you know how to do a save on the spreadsheet, it's up in the left-hand corner, file, somewhere up here. Okay, so here's file, there it is, file, and then you go save as, and then put your own name in there, so it just creates your own copy, okay? All right, so here's the way the spreadsheet works. See this thing where I'm pointing right there? It says me. Under me, you put the age. Put your age right there. Okay? And elves, if you could go around and just check, making sure we got, because we have elves here to help you. Yeah, isn't that awesome? They love you that much that they came out just to help you. Okay, so put your age right there. Then if you're married, put your spouse's age here. If you're not married, this is the fun part. You get to pretend a spouse. Okay, are they older or are they younger? All right. If they're younger, you put minus 2 years or minus 4 years, or so just for fun, put Gavin, you put your age in there? Okay. Okay, and then under spouse, put, statistically, it's like 2 years less, so put 24. Okay? Then what that minus 8 means is that couple is 8 years away from having their first child. Okay? So however many years, and see, I usually teach this to college seniors, and this is like so fun because they're not married, and by the time you finish this, they're married, kids, and then they have to decide whether they're going to get their kids braces, go to college, and then they have to retire, and then they have to die. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like crazy. Okay, so it's really fun actually to watch. Okay, so this is your oldest child. So it would be your firstborn. So how many years away from your firstborn? And this is your last child. How many years away from your last child? And you just put in minus numbers there if you don't have kids yet. Does that make sense? And now what it's doing, just so you understand what it's doing, is it's building a timeline for you so that you can see that your child is 16 right here when you're 50. You have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. Your oldest would be 16 and your youngest would be 14, and they're wanting a car. See that? See right there? They're wanting a car because they're 16, so you put $5,000 out there. Does that make sense? Yeah.
What if we're divorced and oops, we already have kids?
Then put their actual ages, the youngest and the oldest. Yep. Now that's good. Good question. Okay, so if you already have kids, just put your oldest one here, their age, and put your youngest one there. And then just to help calibrate things, put in an age of one of your parents in the far right-hand corner. That just sort of lets you see what they're doing at the same time. So for instance, Gavin, did you put one in? What is that? Okay, so when your child's 16, their grandparent's 78. Does that make sense? And when they graduate from college, they're 85. Okay? And so again, this is like put your seatbelt on and you're on a rocket. Okay, it takes you through your whole life, and it shows you perspective. But there's something very much in the wisdom books when you read through the Bible in terms of the wisdom books that is just really true in Psalms and Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. The further you can look out, the wiser decisions you'll make. The shorter you look, the more foolish decisions you'll make. And so from a standpoint of decision making, the wisdom books will definitely tell you, start with eternity, then start with 100 years next, and then work your way back. And when you start with eternity, you're going to make a different decision than if you started with this year. And then when you start with 100 years, you're going to make a different decision than 5 years or 10 years. So start distant, think it through in context, and then bring it back. And that guiding principle is going to be a definite help in making decisions.